Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Success Thursday, the big question of the week. This week with Peter Müller. Hey, Peter, welcome back.
Hi, Vasco. Happy to be here again.
So Thursday is, of course, the big success question. But before we dive into that, do share with us, Peter, what's your favorite retrospective format and why?
So I take a scale-based retro format, and I love it really. Scale-based coming from solution focus. I don't know. So scale-based means that if we have a topic for our team, say we would like to improve our how we work together, that we first let them imagine the ideal state, say. So we are the best team ever. We work together in a great way, and put that on the 10 of our scale. And then, of course, the one is the opposite of this ideal state. And what I like now is that I can simply ask the team members to position themselves on that scale. And what I like about this format is that I then have a kind of reference and can then talk about differences. For example, first they position themselves on a value which is 4 or 5. I don't care so much about the value. It's more about then I can ask things like, okay, what is already there, so that you can position on a 5 and not on a 1. So talking about what is already present in your in for this particular wish they had, and their strengths, their skills, and stuff like that. And then I can ask them to make just a small step forward towards a 10. What would be different then? So that I can imagine that. And I can ask, and how actually did you do that? How were you able to make this small step? And here we come then to concrete experiments or action items. What I especially like about this scale-based retro, it requires, if you are trained in working with scales, no preparation at all if you do it on site. So I just did it recently. I just took my sticky notes. Okay, this is a preparation. You have to have some sticky notes, but then you can do such a scale-based retro without anything else.
So can you give an example of what kind of question you would ask the team that would allow them to come up with a scale?
For example, if they have a topic, say things like we would like to talk about how we work together, as I said, then to imagine them, okay, now imagine the best team which works together. How would that be then different for you as in comparison to now? So they should picture this, their future state. Let them picture their future state. What would be then different? What would be possible then, which is not possible now? So these are questions you ask then. And then you put this ideal state they have pictured on the 10 of the scale. So this is the ideal world.
Yeah, so I'm thinking that, for example, a team might say, hey, we are struggling with involving the product owner, right? Like, and then we would ask, what would be the perfect collaboration with the product owner like? And then we could ask, what would be the things that would happen, for example, every day, every week, every sprint? And then the team would kind of define those characteristics. And then after that conversation, they would kind of grade themselves in that scale, right?
Yes. So they would picture how the perfect interaction with the product owner would be. And you also elaborated a bit. So what would be different? How would you react? How would the product owner react then in that situation if we have everything in line, everything in best place? Yeah? What would be possible then? What is not possible now? So elaborate the state. You say it on the 10, and then you let them scale on that. Let them position on that scale. Say, with respect to this 10, where are you now?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what you mean by difference, right? Like comparing ourselves with then what we have decided
Yes.
would be
Yes.
the ideal state. Yeah, I can imagine this could especially help trigger self-reflection. First of what is perfect or ideal, and then what's different and how do we get there?
And this is again the idea that you would like to picture the solution first, yeah. So that they see, this is where we would like to head to. This is where we would like to be. This should come up. We want to be there, so that there's a striving force to go there.
Yeah, and that's such a powerful aspect of the solutions-focused coach, to imagine a better future. Because if we don't have that vision, it's very hard to go there.
Exactly. So you need to know where you want to go.
And speaking of where we want to go, we need to do now that for Scrum Masters. So Peter, what does success mean for you as a Scrum Master?
Okay, for me personally, it actually means that when I do a conversation with someone or with a team, that at some point in time, I receive, Peter, that's a good question. And then people start to remain silent and start to think. So this is one aspect for me, because then I'm happy. Yes. So, so I really like that one. Of course, this is not very helpful if you have to argue against management. Why do we need Scrum Masters? Stuff like that. So here you might more try to argue, well, because I support, for example, teams to come faster to decisions. And I remember a team here where it was just starting with Scrum. So we had a change from, say, traditional project management work to more Scrum-like or a Scrum environment. And we had a discussion, I think it was a very technical thing about how to document in the code things, either this way or that way. So, and there needs to be a decision because, of course, they want to make it in a similar way in the whole team. So we discussed the potential pros of version A or the pros of version B, and I started then to ask, okay, and how do you decide? The team remained silent, so no one says a word. And I said, guys, why are you not able to decide? Well, maybe we need even more clarity about the pros or cons, right? So we discussed a little bit further. And then after a while, I ask again, how do you decide? They still remain silent, but at some point in time, we came up with that 3 of the persons say, actually, we think version A is good. 2 of these persons, 2 of the team members say, I don't care, I go with any decision. And 1 person says, I would go for B. Then I ask, okay, and what is your decision now? Nothing happens. They remain silent. Yeah? So in the end, actually, I took the decision as I just said, okay, now let's do it this way, which is a little bit tricky being a Scrum Master, taking decisions for the team. But in that case, it was okay because in the retrospective, we reflect, why were we not able to decide? And what came up with was that they were so used to that someone else take decisions for them, the project manager, an lead architect, or whatever its role was. Yeah? They were not able to take a decision. And they also fear that if I, as a peer, take a decision for my colleague, that this might offend the colleague or whatever. So they were not able. And now answering your question, what is success? We worked on that. And today, or at least some weeks later, this team was able to take such decisions in a daily, just like that, in a moment.
So when you look back at that story, which of course kind of, and I think, and I love it, it illustrates what success looks like in a very practical and pragmatic way. What were the things that triggered that change for that team? When you look back, what were the kind of the trigger moments for the team?
Actually, first that we had a retrospective about the reasons, so that they actually speak it out, so that they are not used to, so that they hear it, that they heard it. that they are not used to take decisions, because this makes it aware for everybody. I think this was a key moment, because if it's then aware and they can accept their situation, they can work on it. And this was important part, so that they actually then said, okay, yes, of course, we need to work on that. It cannot be that such a simple decision took us, I don't know, an hour.
Yeah, sometimes it takes a month.
Yeah, even this, yeah, okay. And another aspect is actually, if we don't take a decision that this is a decision, this is also something we should be aware of.
Yeah, I like this aspect of bringing awareness. And now this is a very often, I think, underestimated power of the Scrum Master. And we sometimes call it mirroring, right?
Yep.
When we mirror, we're basically saying to the team or to the individual what we heard them say.
Yep.
Right? With different words, obviously, but basically saying the same thing.
Yep.
And we do it because, usually, at least, because we seek validation, right? Like, make sure I did understand what you said, and that also helps the person feel heard, which creates a positive relationship already, and that's very important. But an aspect of this mirroring is also that we create awareness. Because when we rephrase what they said with different words, we're of course bringing in our own perspective into those words. And sometimes we give that person or that group of people an understanding that they didn't have. It was implicit. It was not conscious or deliberate, right? It was hidden in all of their other actions, just like you described with this retrospective when the team finally said, it's not okay not to be able to make decisions.
Exactly. So we are sometimes trapped in our focus to be like that. And if we do this mirroring, we are able to open up a little bit so that they can see left or right and get aware of what is there. So they are no longer in this tunnel.
And this awareness, when it comes to teams especially, this awareness of behaviors is very important, because even though people are able, and most of the times, not all the time, most of the times are able to reflect on their own behavior, it's very difficult. It's quite a complex process to reflect on team behavior, because you need to analyze where you are, you need to see what others do, you need to create a higher level concept of what is the overall action that the team is taking, like what you said a moment ago, like not deciding is also a decision, right?
Yes.
Somebody needs to verbalize that.
Yeah. And actually, it is also for some people not so easy to reflect. They have to relearn it. And this is also an aspect we can try to support, so that they start to reflect, my behavior did this or that, and this had this consequences and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And this type of interaction, I think, is something that a Scrum Master, a successful Scrum Master, is able to bring to the team, because creating this awareness is the first step for self-management. Without awareness, there is no self-management.
Exactly. I think this is a main point of Scrum Masters, that they are able to mirror and without judging. Maybe this is important. So we don't judge, or we should not judge.
Yeah, and it's very easy to fall into that trap, though. But that would be a whole another episode for us to talk about judgment and, of course, nonviolent communication. But for now, thank you, Peter, for sharing this great story.
Thank you for being here.
Part of a successful Scrum Master job is to help the product owner. Tomorrow we explore that critical role in Scrum, the product owner role. Tune in to learn about product owner anti-patterns, what you can do to help the product owner, and a real-life example of what a great product owner is and what made it so. Tomorrow on our Friday Product Owner episode. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.